Hello and thanks for joining us. Welcome to Newsmax Health. Right now we're talking with board-certified neurosurgeon, author, and editor of the Blaylock Wellness Report, Dr. Russell Blaylock. Dr. Blaylock, we want to discuss an incredibly scary health issue that affects millions of Americans and also the people who love them. It's only natural when you reach a certain age, around the time you turn 40, we all start to worry about memory loss. But for far too many people, their worst fears are realized when slips of the mind turn into full-blown dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So Dr. Blaylock, let's talk about your special report, Save Your Brain, Protect Yourself from the Ravages of Alzheimer's and Other Diseases. You talk about how a poor diet and exposure to certain toxins can hinder the body's God-given ability to repair itself. Why is that important to saving our brains from this and other neurodegenerative disorders?
One of the things we've learned is that there's a common mechanism that's occurring in all of these disorders, and that's what I've named immunoexcitotoxicity. I've written a number of papers that are in the peer-reviewed journals about this process. And what triggers it is anything that triggers inflammation, anything that activates these microglia in the brain over a long period of time. Well, we know chronic infections can do that, repeated infections, repeated vaccinations, exposure to certain type metals like aluminum and mercury, cadmium, lead, can produce chronic brain inflammation and produce the changes we see in these diseases. Exposure to certain pesticides and herbicides can trigger it. So we know there's a common factor that's going on with all these things we know are linked to the Alzheimer's disease. For instance, eating a lot of sugar. People who have high sugar diets have a high incidence of Alzheimer's disease. And that's because the high sugar diet increases brain glutamate levels, increases brain inflammation.
Now, when people see this groundbreaking report, they're going to read a lot about free radicals. What are they, and what are some of the ways that we can prevent them from destroying our minds and our bodies?
Well, there's compelling evidence that a thing called free radicals is causing a lot of this damage. And that's one of the things that immunoexcitotoxicity does. The process generates enormous numbers of free radicals. Now, these are just chemical elements that are highly reactive, and they tend to damage the proteins, the DNA, all the membranes of cells, so they do a lot of damage. The higher the level, the more the damage that's done. The longer they're there, the more damage that's done. So we find that in a lot of these diseases, if you use antioxidants in combination, and that's important, in combination, we find that you can significantly reduce the impact of these diseases, or a lot of time prevent the disease altogether. We know that reducing the free radical damage and lipid peroxidation related process dramatically reduces Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's disease, and the damage produced by those diseases.
Well, you also talk about how important low cholesterol levels can be when it comes to combating Alzheimer's, but some people might be just surprised to learn that drugs like statins meant to keep cholesterol levels low could also be part of the problem.
What we used to think was a normal cholesterol was 220 milligrams. Nowadays, they want it down to 150 or below. Well, we know that if you lower the cholesterol that low, it interferes with brain function, and you actually increase memory problems, learning problems, and even periods of amnesia. And that's what happens with the statin drugs, is they lower the cholesterol so low that it increases the risk of these degenerative brain disorders by interfering with normal cholesterol metabolism in the brain. The cholesterol is utilized by the brain in high concentration. And we find people with these upper levels of cholesterol actually have better brain function than those with real low cholesterol. The low cholesterol also increases brain hemorrhages. It's a leading cause of hemorrhaging in the brain, which is called a hemorrhagic stroke.
Now, doctor, I know that everyone concerned about Alzheimer's can benefit from that kind of information. You also have detailed examples of proven strategies for preventing risk factors known to lead to Alzheimer's the natural way. And because millions of people are suffering from this debilitating epidemic, we are going to give today's viewers a free copy of Dr. Blaylock's special report, Save Your Brain, Protect Yourself from the Ravages of Alzheimer's and Other Diseases. We'll show you how you can claim your free copy in just a second, but first, I want to highlight more of the important information you can benefit from in this special report. You'll find specifics on prevention, fighting, and even reversing the factors that can increase the risk of developing Alzheimer's. Dr. Blaylock also details the brain's very own immune system and ways to strengthen it. He also shows you what role sugar plays in connection to Alzheimer's and what fats help and what fats hurt. And a very little sun can go a long way to fighting the disease. So to unlock all this vital information and much more, just click on the orange button below this presentation to claim your free copy of Dr. Blaylock's special report, Save Your Brain, Protect Yourself from the Ravages of Alzheimer's and Other Diseases. But I must tell you, we only have a few copies of the special report available, and when they're gone, they're gone. So don't wait to claim your free copy now.